Hello and welcome, Rivals, to the latest episode of Game Rivals. I'm your host, Maximilian X. I'm coming to you, as always, from the interwebs, bringing you the most recent gaming news that is fit to play. And there is a lot of gaming news, so I had to just cover some of the really important stuff. So I'm gonna try and do my best not to have this episode run too long. But I do want to cover some really fun and interesting news. Some a bit sad, depending on your perspective. Some very aggravating, and some just desserts. So let's start with something that was actually more recently that came up. There was an interview done with the director and the producer of Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and they're talking about the game's development and stuff like that. And one of the things that was brought up was the lack of Sheikah technology in Tears of the Kingdom. If you have ever played Breath of the Wild, you'll know that the main thing about the Breath of the Wild's game mechanics, is the Sheikah slate and the Sheikah technology strewn all about Hyrule. So, when I say all the technology, this also includes, like the Guardians, and the like, and of course the Sheikah temples, the Sheikah shrines, anything that related to the Sheikah tech. So basically, the Sheikah slate itself, stuff like that. Those things are not present in Tears of the Kingdom at all. Actually, in fact, even the Sheikah slate was replaced with this slate that looks like a Sheikah slate, but it's a camera that Pura made for Zelda, and it's made surprisingly to look a lot like a Sheikah slate, because one of the functionalities of the Sheikah slate was the ability to take pictures. So, as far as Sheikah technology, that and the towers of observation that they made are the only Sheikah technology in Tears of the Kingdom. But what happened to everything else? Why are they suddenly gone? Now, the director of the game, Hidemaru Fubayashi, did have kind of an answer for that. Basically, he said that after Calamity Ganon was sealed away, I'm just paraphrasing here, by the way. After Calamity Ganon was sealed away, everything that had to do with that also apparently disappeared. So the shrines disappeared, the towers disappeared, the guardians just up and vanished. The, the divine beasts, if you remember seeing the divine, not even seeing, like playing the game and like overcoming the divine beasts so that you can have them aid you um in your quest, those are big deals. Yep, Gabe just disappeared, and apparently the people of Hyrule are so desensitized to sudden change, that they were just like, "Oh, okay, I guess okay, okay, I guess it's just gone now." Okay, and they just like moved on with their life, um, because apparently the changes in Hyrule can be so drastic and so sudden, and it can happen at any time, that ironically, it's apparently happened so many times. So many different things have happened to Hyrule in like instances, to the point where the people just kind of take it at face value and move on. Like nobody's investigating why everything disappeared. Not even the Sheikah themselves, which is kind of funny if you think about it. Um, but yeah, I mean, now they have all the Zonai tech to observe, and if how they're explaining it is accurate, that means that that should not disappear. But it could also mean that it one day could disappear and nobody will bat a gosh darn eye at it in Hyrule. So that was fun. That's weird. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure there were more than enough people that were also wondering, myself included, like what happened to all the Sheikah tech. Um, in terms of story, right? In terms of the plot. But you kind of quickly move on from that once you start playing the game and actually having fun, right? So for that, um, that's a really weird one. I wanted to start off with that one because that's like the most recent news out. Um, and it's not a long one. It's just a funny little thing. And oh yeah, just as an FYI, for people that were thinking that we were getting DLC for this game or whatever, it ain't happening. Apparently, allegedly, they are working on the next game in the franchise. Um, what that's gonna be, what that's gonna look like, nobody knows. Other than the fact that it's gonna be completely new and completely different. Um, so expect your expectations to be subverted. So yeah. So that's a really fun story. You know what's not a fun story? The Gollum game. Yeah, apparently things aren't really over with that one. Uh so apparently it came out in an interview with gaming outlet Game 2 that several former Daedalic staff, so the developer slash former development company now publisher, Daedalic, former staff members from there, spoke to them. I'm assuming under anonymity. Um, that the apology that was sent out under Daedalic's Twitter account, yeah, that was not them. Apparently, it was done by their publishing partner, which is gosh, it's not even a gosh darn article, which is weird. Um, but I don't want to say it incorrectly. I don't have the right article here. Damn it. But basically, their publishing partner is the one that issued the statement on behalf of Daedalic. So they didn't even like they weren't even the ones that were apologizing for the game being bad. Um, and here's the thing, right? So apparently, according to these former developers from Daedalic, the apology that was put out was not even written by a person. Allegedly, it was generated in Chat GPT, which, if you think about it, with all the spelling errors that are in there, actually, you know what? Actually, that's here's the thing, right? Even if that is true, the fact that it had weird spelling errors, like it's saying Lord of the Ring, singular, not plural, means that um someone still messed with it. Even if, like, let's say here's the thing. Let's say let's say they did use Chat GPT, right? So that means that whoever did the input screwed up on Lord of the Rings and put in Lord of the Ring and other typos that Chat GPT just glosses over because of course it would. And it pooped out a response, and they just copy pasted that response in a apology PNG and slapped it on Datalic's Twitter account, which is also weird and interesting. Like, how the hell do you do that? Um, Actually, I'm assuming it's probably like the Gollum specific Twitter account that they put it on, and it's like, okay, so like you didn't even have like the you didn't even care enough to even do the apology PNG correctly. Allegedly. If that's true, that's so sad. Like beyond sad. I don't even know. I don't even know like how you function as a company, um, let alone as a publishing hand, if true, At this point, I would say take it with a grain of salt. Whether it's true or not, it's still very it's very crappy that they did that, right? They put out a game that is not done, just because they had some criteria to meet. And I don't know, maybe the publisher didn't care. It's weird. Like, and to be fair, even if they were given way more time to finish the game, I don't think it would have been better. I don't think it would have been better at all. Apparently, the game was so incomplete. There were certain cutscenes that were supposed to be animated that ended up not being animated, um, because they did not have enough time. There were elements in the game, like, you know how the game has this like inner monologue thingy going on with like Gollum and Schmeagol, where you can like sway one or the other. Yeah, that's not complete. It's in there, but it's not like it. I'm assuming it's not working as intended. Otherwise, I wouldn't say that it's incomplete. So the system is in there, but it's not working, or at least it's not working fully as intended. So it's broken. It's broken. That's where it comes to. Um, and other things like that. It's like that stuff is never gonna get fixed, you know. And that is honestly, if I say that's a shame. That's doing it a disservice because I don't think people really care. But you know what people will care about, or at least I assume a lot of developers will care about this news, is that Unity CEO John Riccitello resigns effective immediately from Unity in everything that it stands for. Um, Apparently, this guy has a gosh darn, it's ridiculous. Like, he had his finger in this pot like so deep. He was not just the CEO; he was the president and a member of the board of directors. He is stepping down from all of that, which is a great step in the right direction. Too bad it's too late, right? Y'all hired this guy after his exit from EA and after the remarks that he made while he was CEO of EA. And y'all looked at him and like, that's our guy. Like, really? That guy? The guy that says that in a perfect world for him in terms of like microtransactions, they would charge people $1 to reload when the going gets tough so that players wouldn't notice the small increment of money that they keep nibbling off players? Are you kidding me? That's the guy you want to like helm your like 3D 2D gaming engine for the masses. He's a not for the masses guy. How do you even decide to like hire someone like that? It's beyond me. Like, even when he was hired, I remember seeing the article when he was hired. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Why would he um why would he even take the job? Outside of the fact that it's a CEO job, so why wouldn't you take the job? But like that is not his expertise. Yeah, sure, he's worked in the game industry, but there's a big difference between running an engine company and running like a publishing slash developing company, right? It's two big different things. I mean, you might say that, well, that's not. If that's the case, then what about Epic? And it's like, yeah, well, what about Epic? Like, what about Steam? Like, Epic, like, what's like Fortnite is the last game that they put out. Really think about that one. And not even just because of the money that it makes for them. That is the last game that Epic themselves put out. You remember the last game that that Valve put out before Half-Life Alex? It was the Orange Box. The Orange Box was the last thing that Valve themselves. No, sorry, that's a lie. Portal 2 was the last thing that they worked on themselves before Half-Life Alex. Do you know how many years is between that? It's crazy. So yeah, there is a big difference between having a company that focuses on creating an engine and maintaining the engine and being a publisher and developer. Those are two very big different things. Maintaining an engine takes a lot of manpower and a lot of efforts because you're licensing it out, which means that you're going to have licensees that are constantly hounding you for certain improvements, fixes, support, tech support. That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of manpower. And if you're gonna say, well, they can't, they like the developers don't have anything to do with that, then that's true. That is absolutely true. Like their development arm has nothing to do with it. But if their development arm is the one that has the most experience with that engine, they're the ones that have to help go and help out other studios. So they effectively become the tech support. At least that's the way I see it. Honestly, I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, mea culpa. However, it does, like, if you think about it, it does correlate to the fact that these companies barely put out any games to begin with. They make engines that they barely utilize themselves. And I feel like if Fortnite was not a thing, maybe they would still be making games, right? Maybe. But also at the same time, I feel that if Fortnite ended up being what they originally planned it to be, one, it wouldn't exist anymore. It would have probably gone down years ago. And two, the development of Unreal Engine 5 would have gone completely different because how Unreal Engine 5 works right now, currently, is very unique, especially with how they are trying to have it be as low of an entry of bar to enter as much as possible. It's still, I'm I'm pretty sure it's still like more complicated than getting into Unity, but considering that Unity has betrayed people, it's less likely that people want to learn to use Unity. And people, like I said in the previous episode, like people are already like looking at stuff like Godot. So expect a lot of Godot tutorials to pop up in the near future, because I'm pretty sure a lot of developers are going to start moving to there. And as long as Godot remains open source, it's gonna probably see a lot of like exponential growth in usability because it's open source, right? So anybody that makes any improvements to it can share it with the group, um, and share it with the public, and that's how like open source engines tend to like grow. So yeah, John Riccatellia, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Bye bye, you weirdo. Um, Speaking of weirdos, no, that's not a good segue. That is actually a very terrible segue. I wanted to segue into something a little bit more lighthearted and fun, but it's a little bit too weird. And also, like, I didn't have this on my bingo card. I'm pretty sure nobody else had this on their bingo card for 2023. They recently announced an Animal Crossing Lego set that's coming in March 2024. Um, yeah, that's it. That's literally the news. They announced that Lego Animal Crossing is coming with like these really cute animations, and it's coming March 2024. After Mario, the next thing that we're getting, no, sorry, after Mario and after Sonic, because Sonic is actually the recent like game character that actually got Lego fight. Yeah, kind of missed that one. Saw the announcement, but I did not talk about it on any of the previous episodes, which it wasn't really that big, so forgive me for that one. But yeah, after Sonic, now we're getting Animal Crossing. I don't know what it's supposed to entail. They showed some characters. They showed obviously Tom Nook, and they showed Marshall. I'm sorry, Marshall's my favorite. He's such a he's such a cute little such a cute little critter. Oh man. I don't have the Super Mario Lego or the Sonic Lego. I still kind of want to get like the base set at the very least. just for like collection purposes, to just to say like, hey, I have this as like a Mario thing. Um, and maybe even for the Sonic thing, maybe a little bit as well. The Sonic thing is not interactive like the Mario thing. It's just like a regular Lego set, and it seems like the Animal Crossing Lego set is just going to be that, a Animal Crossing themed Lego set, not like an interactive like, hey, this is playable like Lego, like with Super Mario. Um, so yeah. Speaking of Super Mario, Super Mario Brothers Wonder is having their previews, the final previews coming out, because it is coming out October 20th. Ironically, the same day as Spider-Man 2. Not so much for me, but because I don't own a PlayStation 5, so that is $70 well saved. Still means I'm picking up Super Mario Wonder, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that. I might stream that. So if you watch me on stream, twitch.tv/maxman_x, find me there streaming games. Yeah, so Animal Crossing Lego, super super weird. That one is also recent, so I wanted to bring that one up as well. Um, it'll also lessen the blow somewhat for those that still play online on their 3DS and on their Wii U. As just like they closed the eShops this year for those two systems, next year they're closing the online services. You'll still be able to download updates for games and DLC that you've purchased, but the ability to play games online on those systems is going bye bye as of April next year. And it kind of sucks because, yeah, they did the same thing with the Wii. Um, and I'm not 100% sure if they did the same thing for PlayStation. I think you can still play online with PlayStation 3. Mostly because it was like peer to peer anyways, I think, or something like that. I don't think you can still play online on yeah, and I think Vita might still actually be online. But yeah, the 3DS and Wii U. Rest in peace. There are still like a lot of people still playing stuff like Mario Kart 8, like the OG Mario Kart 8. Even though the battle mode kind of sucks. In that one, people playing the OG Splatoon. Just shout out OG Splatoon. It's like the first game that I consistently streamed back in the day. Um, and had a little following for that too. um, yeah, and of course some 3DS games. Kid Icarus Uprising has like the multiplayer. You can still do like local multiplayer will not go away on these games. It's the online ones that are going to go away. And the convenience of the online, especially on 3DS, and to some extent the Wii U, is that if you don't have anybody near you to play the game, you can always find someone online. That's kind of the whole point of online. And now you're gonna lack that. So that means that if you want to play the multiplayer, for example, Kid Icarus Uprising or Mario Kart 7, um, you'll need people that have copies of the game so that you can actually play along. I think Mario Kart 7 does have that one card multiplayer, but then everybody's like Shy Guy. So at least it still has that, but like Kid Icarus does not have that. It does have the ability to play against bots, but it's not the same, right? You can play offline against bots to practice, but it's not the same as playing online against other people. Um, so yeah, it's an end of an era again. And speaking of end of eras, Jim Ryan is leaving after 30 years at PlayStation. So kudos, kudos, congratulations to him retiring. He's gonna be retiring next year, uh, April 1st, which is not a joke. Totoki will assume interim CEO roles from that point on until they find a permanent new CEO to fill that role. or it could end up that he ends up taking that anyways. Um, and I think he does it say what he does? No, it does not say what he does. I think he is a part from another part from like Sony. Um, so yeah, they he put out a nice little statement. I do want to read that out. Because it's pretty cool. Quote, after 30 years, I've made the decision to retire from SIE in March 2024, Ryan said in a statement. Uh, I've relished the opportunity to have a job I love in a very special company working with great people and incredible partners. But I found it increasingly difficult to reconcile living in Europe and working in North America. I will leave having been privileged to work on products that have touched millions of lives across the world. PlayStation will always be part of my life, and I feel more optimistic than ever about the future of SID. I want to thank Yoshida-san for placing so much trust in me and being an incredible and sensitive supportive. End quote. That is honestly kind of nice. There are people, of course, having some kind words for him. I think Phil Spencer also wished him the very best. And there are, of course, those on the internet that were glad that he's leaving because of certain, like, like stuff that he said in the past. Stuff like, oh, why would people want to play like retro games? Because they're not pretty and they have long load times and they look bad and blah 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 blah. So yeah, there were some um out there that did celebrate his departure, and of course there are some that thanked him and like celebrated his tenure at Sony. 30 years is a long time to be with one company. I don't think a lot of people do that these days. I don't think a lot of people still have that mentality of working at one place for literal decades. And considering that he had the crazy commute and the crazy work shift between living in Europe and working in North America, I can understand that he felt like it's time to just like hang up the PlayStation controller that he holds so awkwardly, and I mean for promotional purposes, he was holding it awkwardly, um, and like just calling it a day. See, that's how you exit out of the industry with gosh darn grace. Like you don't have to agree with the guy's like decision making in the company, but at the very least, he wasn't responsible for stupid stuff uh, or outlandish stuff. I should probably say, man, not stupid stuff. I mean, we're still getting the PlayStation Portal, so um, so yeah, that's a thing. Fantastic, fantastic. Um, yeah, so I think I mentioned this in the beginning, but yeah, I don't even know how to transition to this. So, um, a couple of weeks ago, the Van Gogh Museum announced a collaboration for their 50th anniversary. If you don't know, the Van Gogh Museum is a museum um, about Vincent van Gogh, who was a Dutch artist, and has some very amazing paintings. Led an interesting life, um, and that's the best way I can describe it. It was an interesting life that he led, and the museum is there to honor him, but also people that were influenced by him. So they have different like installations, like they have pretty much all of his known work displayed there. And they decided for the 50th anniversary to collaborate with the Pokemon Company um, to have like special Pokemon installations in the museum. And with anything that like that comes, if you're collaborating with a company like the Pokemon Company, there's of course going to be merch, and they had a lot of different things from Pikachu in the gray felt hat, a little statuette of that, um, a picture of Pikachu in the gray felt hat, like on like a tote bag and stuff like that. and other different merch. But the biggest merch was merch that you couldn't even purchase, at least not if you were in the museum. You'd have to earn it by doing a scavenger hunt. Now, this was specially aimed at kids 6 and up. You're already seeing where this is going. And you do the scavenger hunt. You fill in the clues. You take the clues. You fill in the answers. You come back to the front desk. You hand in your answer, and you get an exclusive Pokemon card of Pikachu in the gray belt hat in the style of Van Gogh, which, great, nice, cool, cute collectible. And it's an actual TCG card. So it actually has an actual effect and stuff like that. Yeah. So apparently, and this is weird because at least the Pokemon Company should have realized this when they said okay to this and did not prepare a bunch of these cards for the secondhand market, or or figuring out a way to have it be available outside of the museum. Because the collaboration started on the 23rd, and then there were a bunch of scalpers that were rushing the gift store, first of all, for the merch to resell online on eBay and stuff like that. And then, of course, there are the people that were literally trying to pay off the actual children to sell their Pikachu cards so that they can sell it for a profit online. These scalpers are the absolute worst. I hope something bad happens to them, and I hope that they get stuck with the cards and can't sell them because they overflooded the market like the greedy bastards that they are. For real. Like, first of all, it's already like hard to go to the museum because you have to, like, in advance reserve a spot to go, right? So that is like weeks in advance. And now you're gonna have these scalpers that are lurking outside of the museum, instantly trying to swoop up and like buy off people's Pokemon cards. And yes, I know there's probably gonna be a bunch of people that go there that just went there. They did the scavenger hunt, got the card. They're not gonna do anything with it anyway, so they sell it to the gosh darn scalpers. And that kind of sucks. But the worst thing is that they're also approaching kids with this. And that sucks even more because it's like supposed to be like this cool little thing that you like did an effort for and then get as a reward. And then you see all these adults going after it. It's just, again, I'm guilty of wanting to go and getting one of the cards myself, but that's because I want the card for myself, you know, and maybe get some extras for some friends. Actual friends, not reselling. Um, I don't mind if you resell stuff that you previously owned, but if you're doing it just to make a buck, yeah, you can go sit on a cactus for all I care. So yeah, that kind of sucks. Um, it is funny, although it is funny to see that they had to put out a statement on Twitter. Um, I refuse to call it the other word. They had to put a statement on Twitter that it's like, we apologize to all the fans eagerly awaiting our Pokemon Center X Banco Museum release today. Due to overwhelming demand, all our products from this collection have sold out. We understand that this is a disappointment for many of you who are looking to our official email and social media channels for guidance on how and when to purchase. We are actively working on ways to provide more Pikachu with the Gray Felt Hat Pokemon cards for fans shopping at Pokemon Center in the future. So the Pokemon Center, like the online Pokemon Center. Details will be released at a later date. So even Pokemon Center online was swamped by these scalpers. Fantastic. Congratulations. You all suck. Also, Pokemon Company, you should have seen this company coming. You should have seen this coming like from a mile away. Like Van Gogh Museum, not seeing this coming, I understand. They're a museum. They don't get this kind of heat. Just no. No. Like mm. Shame on the scalpers, but also shame on the Pokemon Company for not being like preparing themselves and the museum better for stuff like that. And lastly, but definitely not the least, um, I'm pretty sure that by the time you're listening to this episode, or by the end of the week, on the 13th of October, um, the deal, the deal should be done. And this point, I've talked about it so many times over the past 2 years. The Activision Blizzard deal is finally coming to an end, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, we won't have to talk about the deal again, and then they'll just be part of Microsoft, and it's going to be awkward from that point on. But Activision Blizzard did leave out a statement earlier this week stating that because a lot of people are obviously like hoping that uh, like the library for Activision Blizzard will be available on Game Pass, so they addressed that with a statement on Twitter, which oh my gosh, this stupid website. Um, Yeah, stating this is from directly from Activision Blizzard themselves. It's awesome to see an anticipation building for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 as we continue to work towards regulatory approval for the Microsoft deal. We've been getting some questions whether our upcoming and recently launched games will be available via Game Pass. While we do not have plans to put Modern Warfare 3 or Diablo 4 into Game Pass this year, once the deal closes, we expect to start working with Xbox to bring out our titles to more players around the world. And we anticipate that we would begin adding games to Game Pass sometime in the course of next year. End quote. That is from Activision Blizzard themselves. And this is particularly about the newer games, right? But Activision Blizzard, baby, y'all have a library of older games that you could be putting on Game Pass with like a snap of the finger. So yeah, I'm pretty sure like people are already anticipating that they're going to be doing that. I was assuming that was going to be the case. Uh, Apparently, it's probably going to take some time for them to do so. I wouldn't be surprised if at least with some older titles that they're able to do easy peasy that don't have weird licensing deals surrounding them or whatnot would be easy would be easy to put out. A little bit more challenge would be like like exclusivity deals that they still have going on that they still have to adhere to as a company even after the merger is complete. Like for example, with how Ghostwire Tokyo was a timed PlayStation exclusive, even though by that time Bethesda was already bought by um, Microsoft. They still have to honor that agreement. The same with Deathloop. They had to honor that agreement with PlayStation. So for like the year or so that it was out on PlayStation, it was a timed exclusive on that platform. And I'm assuming that similar cases would be like this with like Call of Duty because they had like an exclusivity deal with PlayStation that I think runs out in a year or two. I could be wrong. So those games may not release day and date on Game Pass until that particular deal is like has run its course. Um, I don't know if the same counts for Diablo. I'm not sure what the deals with Diablo and why they couldn't put it out right away, but I'm pretty sure there's something else going on with that. Like older games, like OG Modern Warfare, for example, or like the first Call of Duty. I think that ran on like Xbox, like the original Xbox. Um, they could put that out on Game Pass if they wanted to. If they wanted to. I don't think they would, but if they wanted to. And a bunch of other like Activision Blizzard games that they could put out that don't have weird rules attached to them. Um, Especially stuff that is like licensed, like Transformers and all that junk. Um, so it's gonna be interesting to see. Finally, it's very nice to finally see that this is finally coming to an end. We don't have to talk about the deal anymore, and it'll be a reality. And it's a reality that we'll all have to face together. The slow encroachment of Microsoft on the game industry. Yeah. I don't know how to feel about that still. I don't know how to feel about that still. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit awkward. But you know what's not weird and awkward? The ending of this episode. Thank you so much for watching a new episode of Game Rivals. Try to keep it as tight as possible. But you know me, I tend to rant about everything. But you know where you can always find us? You can always find us on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe so that you are always up to date with the latest episode of Game Rivals on YouTube. Um, don't forget to click the bell notification. If you have any feedback, you can leave a comment in the comment section. Also, if you want to leave feedback, you can send an email, gameriflesfeedback@gmail.com. You can also reach me on Instagram.com/, Maximilian_X. You can also find me on TikTok at Maximilian_X. You can find me, of course, on the Twitch, twitch.tv/Maximilian_X. And of course, if you're listening to the audio version, you can find us on any podcasting service that is your favorite: Apple Podcast, Stitcher. Our home is on Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Cast. You name it, we're probably there. That is it for me. I have always been. Oh wow, I kind of screwed up that one. I have always been and always will be Maximilian X, and I'll see all of you beautiful rivals next time. Later.